Hi guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So, today we're back with the Jhin Complete Guide. And yes, you heard it right. We are here with a Jhin Complete Guide. So, really, I want to make like complete guides for every single ADC. Or at least every single like marksman ADC. I'm not too sure about those like Ziggs, etc. We'll have to see about that in the future. But for now, I want to make a complete guide on every single ADC. So, the thing about Jhin is that he is one of my two favorite ADCs, the other one being Lucian. And when the game first started, Jhin was actually the best ADC in the meta, and he was just completely broken. But they nerfed him to the ground, and now in the current meta, of course I'm recording this in patch 2.6a, in the current meta, he isn't really that good anymore. In the sense that he literally might be the worst AD carry, especially with Ashe feeling a niche role of being like a more supportive utility kind of ADC. Misfortune now getting buffed and being not pretty good, in fact, and as well as Tristana, I think is not that bad at the moment. I really think Jhin feels worse than Tristana to play after playing both of them. I think Jhin might be the worst AD carry in the current meta. But what I'm pretty sure, at least in my opinion, is that Jhin is the most fun AD carry to play. Maybe I'm a bit biased because I like Jhin, and Jin's one of my favorite champions, but I do think he is really one of the most fun champions to play, and I do think a lot of people agree with that. But anyways, we haven't actually covered Jhin before, so for the first time in a long time, I'm actually gonna go into the practice tool and cover his skills and leveling order. Alright, so here we are loading into the practice tool. Alright, so at level 1 you'll always take Q, level 2 you'll take W, and some people at level 3, I like to take my trap at level 3, but some people take a second point in Q at level 3. Then level 4 you max Q first, of course take alt when available. Then you max W next, of course take alt when available. And then you max E last. And that is pretty much Jin's leveling order. Let's disable the AI. Alright, so we're going to head over to our favorite spot at the river. And we're going to explain what all of Jin's skills and etc. does. So, Jhin was like my first ever Mastery 5 champion, and I really like Jhin. So, I think I can explain all these pretty well. So, first up, his passive is basically his auto attack. So, he has, as you guys can see, under his health bar, he has 4 bullets. So, first part of this is he has 4 bullets. When he shoots all 4 bullets, he has to reload. Like that. So that is a small mechanic of Jhin that you have to play around, because sometimes when you're in a fight and you have to reload, that kind of means you have 0 DPS during that time. So, next part is that his 4th bullet will always crit. Like that purple one will always crit and deal percentage missing health damage. So, if they're low on health, it will do even more damage, basically. And the last part of it is that he cannot actually gain attack speed. So if you build attack speed items, which you will actually convert that to AD instead. So like, for example, an item that gives you 30% attack speed will instead give you 30 AD. So really, Jhin is all about hitting hard and hitting slow, basically. So that's what his passive does. And his Q is called the bouncing grenade. Yeah, the dancing grenade. So basically, it can bounce between 4 people. So here, as you can see, I'm going to use it on the minion. Boom, boom, boom. And it bounces onto 4 minions. So basically, how it works is that it can bounce up to 4 times. If there is nothing to bounce to, like here, it's just going to hit once, basically. So, if it kills something, including minions, it will increase in damage by, like, I believe it's 35%. So, if you somehow manage to kill like 3 minions and bounce into an enemy, it will deal a ton of damage. Like in the laning phase, I have had a couple of times where like I killed 3 minions and it bounces the enemy ADC and it deals like 1/3 or half their health. It's completely insane, but that doesn't really happen very often. So something just to take note of. Now, we move on to his W, which is a very long range skill shot. As you can see, you can reach very far away with his skill shot, sometimes even off screen. And yeah, so really long range. So what happens when you fire this is you fire a thin beam like that with a short delay, and the target dummy is here. So there are three ways to mark the target dummy. First way is you just attack it with any of your attacks. Hello? There we go. The mark is there. You attack it with any of your attacks like that. It will give the mark onto the target dummy. Your basic attacks or your skills will also mark the enemies like that. The other way is your traps. So if somebody steps in your trap, which is your third ability, we'll cover that later, they will be marked as well. So the last way is your allies damage enemy. So basically, if any of these ways you shoot a marked enemy, they will get rooted for 1.25 seconds. So if you shoot your W when they don't have the mark, it'll just do damage without rooting them. So basically, you always want to root them. So you always want them to be marked before you shoot your W. So his third ability is his Lotus Traps. So you put these on the ground. After like a second, they will become invisible, so enemies can't see them anymore. And when they step on them, sort of like how that skull did, they will get marked and they will get slowed, and then they will take damage. So it gives a 30% slow. But normally the slow is not enough to keep them in the trap. So most of the time it's just a slow, and then they'll walk out of the trap before it deals damage. So the trap is not normally used for damage. So here I put it down. He procs it, and boom. So the delay from when the trap is stepped on and when the damage comes through is a long time. So no one is going to be stupid enough to stand in there unless they are like rooted or unless they are CC'd. So it's mostly used as like additional wards slash additional safety tools. So for example, if I'm in the bot lane here, and I think people are gonna gank me, I might put one here, and like I might put one like, let's say here. So if the jungler walks through this area, he's likely to proc either this trap or this trap, because not many junglers are just gonna walk straight through the middle of the river like that, unless they know your traps are there, which most people will not. So normally you use it to slow the jungler when he's coming in for ganks, or simply just use it for vision. So sometimes you want vision, you just put the trap into that bush, and you simply just get vision of the bush. Now, his ult is a really fun one. As you can see, it's a super duper long range ult. It's like a sniping tool. Basically, you have 4 bullets. Your last bullet will always crit for 200% damage, and all of your bullets will slow the enemies by 80% for I believe it's 0.75 seconds. So basically, if you hit your first bullet, you're almost guaranteed to hit the rest of your bullets because of the slow, making it very hard for the enemy to dodge. So here I'm going to show you guys what it looks like. As you can see, there's a zoom out kind of thing. So from like around my tower, I can shoot all the way to the enemy's tower. You can choose where you want to shoot, of course. Then you just tap to let go of your shots, and yeah, 4 shots as usual. Alright, so there we have it for Jhin's skills and leveling order. Now we can actually jump on to the build, the runes, and the spells. Alright, so here we have Jhin. So Jhin has had a lot of different builds. So this is one of the builds that exist. So this is what I call the full damage build. So the full damage build involves starting with the IE, going into Stormrazor, and then going into Rapid Fire Cannon, and then the Penetration Iron, which will be the Mauler Reminder, because the Sorela's Grudge isn't that useful on Jhin. I mean, there is arguments for it. Like, for example, on your traps, it is a damaging ability, but the slow will only proc when the damage goes through, so it doesn't really work that well. On his W, he already roots, so it doesn't really work that well. His ult already slows, and basically the only use of Sorela's Grudge is on his Q, so it really isn't that useful. So Moral Reminder is always the better way to go for the penetration as well as the Grievous Wounds. So you go for IE into Stormrazor, into Rapid Fire, into Static Shift. This gives him 100% crit and 3 energized items. So this is the full damage glass cannon build. This will do a lot of damage when you reach late game, and with 100% crit, you will get the movement speed from your passive. I'm not sure if I mentioned that you get movement speed whenever you crit. I think I might have forgotten. So if you actually crit on your basic attacks, whether be it your 4th shot or your normal basic attacks, you will gain 8% movement speed. So this will give you a permanent 8% movement speed every auto attack that you deal. but I don't really like this build. There are two other builds that I prefer. So, you guys know I'm not a fan of the Storm Razor. It gives AD crit and attack speed and the slow, but I really feel like the slow doesn't really feel like it really does a lot, in all honesty. So what I actually prefer is this build. I like to throw in the GA so that I have a safety tool. So I like to go for IE and then static shift and then the rapid fire cannon and then a moral reminder and then the guardian angel. So this is my default build on Jhin. Now for the boots, this might be one of the only characters you take this on, but you take the boots of swiftness. Move speed slows reduced by 30%, so you prevent yourself from getting slow, and you gain 50 move speed, which is more than other boots. So basically, Jhin, very, very, very immobile carry. You kind of really need the boots of swiftness in order to pretty much just get around the map and just kite around fights and etc. So you kind of need it. Obviously, for the enchant, you go for stasis generally, or you can also opt for something like a proto belt to give yourself more mobility, or the QSS if you need it for the crowd control. Alright, so there is an alternative Jhin build which includes the new item Edge of Night. So how you can go for this is, normally if you want to build Edge of Night, you'll build it as your first item, then you go into the boots and then the Infinity Edge. But if you go for Edge of Night, it's normally because there is some kind of spell on the enemy team you need to immune. For example, a Blitzcrank hook, a Thresh hook, a Thresh flay, just something you want to immune. Normally it's some from a CC, because Jhin dies to CC really, really easy because he has no mobility at all and no safety tools actually. So this new Edge of Night build has actually made Jhin a little bit better in my opinion, because he has a little bit more safety than what he had. But the trade-off is, you're only going to have 2 crit items, which doesn't really feel very good. Of course, you can also go for something like this and don't take the GA, but personally for myself, I think GA is an essential item for every single ADC, so I will go for the GA. And if my GA gets popped, instead of going for something like a Death's Dance or like a Bloodthirster, I will go for like the Static Shift just to change the damage instead. So I will go for this kind of build if my GA is down, but if not, I will still go for GA. So those are the 3 Jhin builds: the full damage build, the crit build, and the Edge of Night build. And now we're gonna move on to the runes. So now this may be a surprise, probably to some of you, but if anybody who plays Jhin, you will know that Jhin actually takes Fleet Footwork instead of Conqueror. Now there are actually 2 reasons for this. The first reason is Conqueror isn't good on Jhin because he attacks very, very slow, and to fully stack your Conqueror, you have to get off all 4 of your basic attacks and then like your Q or something to full stack your Conqueror. And by that point in time, basically every other champion in the game would have full stacked their Conqueror and got off a lot more attacks on you than you have on them. So really, Conqueror doesn't really make sense on Jhin because he stacks it way too slow. So instead, what you go for is Fleet Footwork, just because there really are no better options in this game. So moving, attacking, casting, on casting builds energy stacks, and max stacks your next attack, heals, and gives you increased movement speed. Now, the heal is very useful, especially in lane, but you mostly take this for the additional movement speed. As I said, Jhin really needs movement speed. He relies on movement speed to kite around, to move around in fights, which is also why you take the boots of swiftness. So Fleet Footwork really helps with that. Now on the first slot, I like taking Hunter Vampirism, but another option is Champion. There was a time where Champion Jhin was the meta because of how much damage he dealt, but I think Champion in the current meta is a little bit too risky, and you kind of need the Hunter Vampirism because you don't actually get healing from any of your items, because you don't even build the Gluttonous Greaves, and you don't build Bloodthirster, so you kind of need the Hunter Vampirism in my opinion. For the second one, of course, not as usual, it's always Bone Plating or Hunter Titan, depending on the enemy comp, whether they have more burst or more CC. And of course, for the last one, you always take Sweet Tooth for the health and mana sustain in lane. For the spells, as usual, it'll be Flash with heal if your support doesn't have heal, or Barrier if your support does have heal. Alright, so with all that out of the way, we can now jump into the gameplay. Alright, so on to the gameplay. As usual, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And any questions can put in the comments below and I will help you guys out. Alright, so first up, the first thing I'm going to discuss briefly is the whether to take Age of Night or not. So here, Jhin, before we do that, Jhin has a very strong laning phase because he does actually have a lot of damage, and that is not really to be underestimated. As you can see, we did more than half health of the Corki in terms of damage. So Jin's laning phase is still pretty good. His main worry is his lack of mobility, so if you are too aggressive, you will get ganked and you will die. So there is that. But aside from that, Jin's laning phase, his damage is actually very strong and very competitive with a lot of laners. Anyways, back to the point of whether to take Age of Night or not. So in this game, there is a Thresh and a Jax. So most of the time when Jax jumps in, he will have his E on and you can immune his E. Thresh, you can immune his Flay and his Hook. So Age of Night is a pretty good option in this match. However, you can't immune Kha'Zix because Kha'Zix will jump in, his jump will remove the Age of Night and he will damage you. Same for Orianna, her initial ball will damage you and you cannot immune her ult. Corki is very long range, so he can easily remove your Age of Night with his ultimate. So yeah, so overall I don't think it really is very good to build Age of Night in this match just because of how easy it is for Orianna and Corki to remove your Age of Night. But I still end up going for it, and it does actually end up saving me quite a bit. We'll see later on. The reason why I went for it in this match because I was just testing the Age of Night build to see how good it was. Turns out it was actually really good, so that's why I went for it in this match. But regularly, I wouldn't really go for Age of Night in this match. So yeah. So obviously, one of the most important parts about playing Jhin is managing your bullets. So generally what you want to do is you want to use your first shot on an enemy if possible, but obviously every enemy knows that as well. Like when I play against Jhin, I also know he wants to first shot me, so as a result most people generally play carefully around his first shot. So if possible, use your first shot on an enemy. If it's not possible, then don't force it. Like don't get out of position just to first shot an enemy. Regardless, his reload is another thing you really want to take note of, because if like you're saving your first shot for a fight, you enter the fight with your first shot, you get a huge burst of damage with your first shot, but you need to reload for like a second or so, and you'll be providing like 0 damage during that time, because if you cast spells, you will interrupt the reload animation and you will have to reload again after you cast your spells, so that is not really a workaround. Anyways, Jhin really strong in the lane phase. We pretty much managed to bully the Corki out of the lane, and we're just doing pretty good in general. So something I forgot to mention is that if you don't use your shots on Jhin, like if you're saving your first shot, Jhin will reload after a while. Like you can't just save your first shot indefinitely. Yeah, so he will reload after I think like 10 seconds or so. But yeah, so here as you can see, I put the Lotus Trap in the position that I have discussed in the previous section on the skills and leveling order. Generally, putting it the side closest to you is the best. Here, I don't want to walk too forward to put it right next to the wall, so I'm just kind of putting it smack dab in the middle. Generally, these two positions are the best to put your Lotus Traps, and the next one is in the enemy's bush, or in your bush, if you think the enemy is going to be there. Here, we're trying to get the Thresh, but Thresh manages to escape. Here, I'm ulting, trying to get them both. I managed to get the kill on the Corki, but Kha'Zix blocks the shot for Thresh by jumping straight in. Pantheon comes in from the gang, cleans up the Thresh, and he spears the Corki for the kill before my W reaches. So, relatively good start. Fizz has shown up to the party, perhaps a little bit late after all the action is over. Here comes Orianna. Orianna ult hits onto me as well as the Fizz, and we're gonna kill the Orianna. There we go. Alright, so here comes Corki with package, doesn't really matter, we get the first tower and we're gonna just try to escape out of there. Here, sometimes another use of your trap is when you're running, you can just throw your trap behind you just for the slow, and it can help you escape majority of the time. So just some very interesting, just general trivia, not really trivia, but you know, I made the Draven updated complete guide before this one. And actually, if you realize that my team is actually the same in these two videos. Now this, in real time, the Jhin video was, this Jhin gameplay was before the Draven gameplay. The next game after this one that I played was the Draven one. But I just chose to make the Draven video first. we actually had the exact same team, and we are not a pre-made 5-man. It just happened to be pure luck that we ended up with the exact same team 2 matches in a row. So really interesting, because this match of course went first, and as you can see, we're doing relatively well in this match, and we had the exact same team in the next match, and the support starter only, the Thresh, was also the same in the next match. So really interesting matchmaking there. Here, as you guys can see, as Jhin, you always just want to kite away, and do as much damage as you can. Here I'm ulting in a safe position to just try to get off my damage. People always die before I manage to connect my shots onto them. There, the Corki died again before I managed to actually get my 4-shot onto him. Really good that my team got the kill, but I didn't get the kill, so a little bit sad about that, but yeah. So here, as you can see, Edge of Night is up. So Edge of Night is going to be really helpful against the enemy team. I will be trying my best to point out when the Edge of Night really comes into play, and there will be quite a few examples throughout this game. Alright, so their Edge of Night was procced by the Luden's Echo. Kind of unfortunate there. That's sort of why Edge of Night isn't really good in this match, because it's really easy for like the Orianna and the Corki to proc it without it actually bringing too much use. Like using Edge of Night to block Luden's Echo, not really the best use of Edge of Night, but you know, it's really hard to control how you use your Edge of Night. So as in, enemies can play around it a lot more easily than you, like just proc it before they want to go all in, etc. So yeah. So here we're just going to clear out the minion wave. We already got the top tower, so Nami is kind of getting the wave in top, but I've rotated mid to see what I can do, because it looks like a fight might be able to break out here. And Jhin, obviously as a low mobility, high damage AD carry, all you want to do is stay in the back line and just fire on whoever you can. Just play front to back basically. Jhin is a front to back kind of champion. You don't really have a lot of other choice. And if they start running away, you can like use your ult. Like you have a lot of range, or use your W. Like Jhin has a very long range. Alright, so here nothing too much is happening. Jax is getting off a push in the top lane, so we gonna want to try to stop that, but kind of a fight kind of breaks out in mid lane. Fizz goes in on Kha'Zix and gets the kill. Here I get the root on the Corki, but I don't really want to get that close, because I don't want to get caught by Thresh and Orianna. So here my team manages to finish up the kill on the Corki, and I'm just trying to fire on whoever I can. This is a very aggressive position, but I do have my Edge of Night, so I feel safe enough to walk up and be aggressive. Here Jax goes straight into my root, and as a result he dies. So as you can see, the root is really useful. Here I'm trying to snipe the Thresh. I hit him once, but he flashes my other shots and I manages to dodge the other few. So kind of unfortunate, not the best aiming by me, but at the same time really nice dodging by the Thresh. Now you will actually realize that for good players, Jhin ult is very easy to dodge. I've had many games where I'm playing an ADC, I'm on 1 HP, Jhin ult, and I managed to dodge all 4 bullets, because Jin's ult honestly travels pretty slow, and before his shot actually comes your way, there is an indicator on the ground to show that his shot is coming, so you can actually dodge Jin's ult relatively easily. So it really isn't the easiest to hit the Jhin ult. I will say that, but of course being a good Jhin, you need to hit the Jhin ult, but you know, sometimes you just miss. Corki with a very questionable package there, and tried to get the root on him to possibly re-engage, but doesn't really happen. Yeah, the Corki I don't think is the most skilled. His packages are pretty questionable so far, but yeah, it's becoming a pretty one-sided affair. Orianna ult actually brings me to safety. I flash away from the Kha'Zix, root him, exhaust comes down onto the Kha'Zix. We nearly get the kill on the Kha'Zix, but the entire enemy team comes for the backend, and my team is all on the other side of the map, so we can't really do too much about that. So aside from his very strong like straight up damage, another very good thing about Jhin is his wave clear. Jhin is very strong wave clear, not just with his ult. Corki, as you can see, blocked the 4-shot for the Orianna and nearly died himself. This is very strong wave clear. You will see it from probably later on, but his wave clear is very strong. If you use all your abilities on the wave, you can instantly clear any wave. So he can rotate very fast, he can push lanes very fast, clear lanes very fast, something really good about Jhin. Now the main weakness of Jhin is that he has a very strong early game, however, he doesn't scale very, very well into the late game unless you're ahead of the enemy team. Then you'll feel like you're doing a lot of damage. But if not, in the later stages of the game, it can really feel like he isn't doing as much damage as other ADCs. So you will have to kind of be ahead to really feel the power of Jhin. In this match, I'm 3-0 and 10, so only 3 kills but no deaths and 10 assists. I'm doing pretty well in my opinion. Here, as you can see, we can't Age of Night the Ori ultimate, and our Age of Night is down. We get caught by the Thresh. So, yeah. Alright, nice ult in by the Pantheon, and my team, of course, who is very ahead, is going to destroy the enemy team. Kha'Zix jumps over the wall and tries to escape, and he kind of does. So instead, we just get the tower, and we put down the Rift Herald onto the inhibitor. Of course, pushing for inhibitor is pretty good. So Rift Herald is going to get off the charge. Inhibitor left at 500 HP here. Exhaust goes down onto the Jax, and we're just firing on whoever we can, rooting the Corki as well. Here I'm trying to snipe the Corki. I have no idea where the Corki went. He obviously went out of my ultimate. He's out of vision, so I have no idea where he went. But yeah, I'm just trying to blindly shoot him, and I don't manage to do it. I assume that he recalled outside of my ult range is what I assume happened, even though he's already in his base, because he doesn't want to walk back into my ult range, of course. So here, I'm just going to back and get items, because we've been out on the map for pretty long. We can pick up, I think we should be picking up Zhonya's Hourglass, there we go, and probably building onto our next component, which should be the Rapid Fire Cannon. Right, so here obviously the Infernal Dragon is up, so obviously we want to be going for the Infernal Dragon. So we're heading into the area. Kha'Zix, of course, is already in the area, but he can't really do a lot by himself. Here you'll see the insane Jhin wave clear. You use all your spells on the wave, use all your shots on the wave, use your Q on the wave. Like, look how fast we cleared that massive wave. So Jhin wave clear, really insane. One of his greatest strengths. Here, enemy team is on the Infernal Dragon, and we actually managed to give them the Infernal Dragon, which is pretty insane considering how ahead we are. Jax jumps in and does absolutely nothing before he dies. Here, I still have my Edge of Night out, so I'm still chasing. I'm still chasing and seeing what I can do, because I can immune one spell, so that gives me a lot of power. Here, I face check the bush. I try to W the bush. They're not there, so I guess they just manually ran past the red buff all the way back to the base and didn't actually try to channel recall. So here my team is pushing onto the actual base, so I decided in the meantime I'm going to actually push the inhibitor. Honestly, the entire enemy team is respawned, so we can't really end the game, but my team was kind of trying to end the game, so I'm going over to see if I can actually help back them up. Turns out not really, and basically my whole team dies other than me and Fizz, so kind of, you know, teams that are ahead tend to make stupid plays and tend to mess up their lead. Something like this. Like, I have no idea why my team wasn't just, you know, pushing other lanes or like just going for Baron, and why they're actually just straight up trying to end the game. I mean, we did get relatively close to it, and it can be argued that if I was there, we could have ended the game. But as a game decision, that isn't really a very safe option, just because it's really difficult to end the game right there. Like, it's really hard to force the end, even though we're really ahead, in my opinion. But anyways, we're just gonna pick up a red buff, and the enemy team has taken Baron as a result of basically my entire team dying other than me. We're just gonna farm the Raptors as usual as an ADC in your downtime. Just farm whatever you can. And yeah, so here now the enemy team has a inroad because they got the Baron, and if we lose like a team fight, we could actually just straight up lose the game because they have Baron and they can push really fast. So we do have to be careful not to just die, not just all die or something like that. So we have to be a bit cautious. We're going to push out the bot lane, of course with the insane Jhin wave clear, together with the help of Akali and Pantheon. And the entire enemy team is trying to push down mid, which is not the worst option considering they have their Baron buff. But we still have a stronger team fight because we are ahead of them. So we want them to commit to like a bad team fight, and we can win that team fight and then possibly just like win the game of that team fight. Kha'Zix is split pushing together with the Jax. I'm not sure why Kha'Zix is doing the split pushing. Probably should be the Jax. But anyways, here we're just going to try to make something happen. Age of Night is up, of course, so we are safe in a way. So the entire enemy team is somewhere in the river. We know that because they're pushing mid and top, so they're probably somewhere in the river or in their top side jungle. There they are. Fizz gets caught out. Obviously, no, very little map awareness by the Fizz. Like they're very obviously in the air. Thankfully, he doesn't die and he barely gets caught out. Here I'm pinging my team to retreat because I want to clear out the bot wave to make sure they don't actually have any waves to end with, even if we like lose a fight or something. So I just want to clear out the wave. As I said, using all my skills, we can clear out the wave very fast. Here, the wave gets baroned up, so I instantly know someone is there and someone is coming for me. So here I just dodge the thresh hook. No reason to proc my Edge of Night if it's not needed. And I'm just going to like recall, maybe get an item or something. Alright, so we get some components of the Executioner's Calling. We get the Executioner's Calling, some components of the Moral Reminder, which will of course help out in the fight. So here, thankfully, the enemy team hasn't really actually managed to take much of the Baron. Like, I don't really think they even got anything out of the Baron except a brief reprieve from us trying to actually end the game. Here they're trying to push onto the mid lane tier 2, and they do actually get it because my team wasn't around to defend. And the Elder Dragon is coming up. So obviously Elder Dragon is something that both teams are going to fight for like 100% of the time. So here, the enemy team is at the Elder Dragon. Of course, my team is making our way there as well to see if we can do anything about it. And we still are stronger than them at this point in time. So we still should win a 5-5-on-5 fight with them unless they get like an insane Orianna ultimate into Jack stun or some kind of wombo combo like that. But the entire enemy team isn't even on the Elder Dragon, which is a relatively wise choice. They instead decide to go and clear their lane. So Kha'Zix can be spotted at the top lane. We're going to try to set a trap for him as he comes onto the Elder Dragon, because he can see that we started, and there we go. We trapped the Kha'Zix. We set a trap for the Kha'Zix and killed him. Here you can see how the Edge of Night actually immuned the Jack's stun on his E. So here I try to snipe the Jax, but Pantheon gets the kill again. Try to snipe the Thresh, but Pantheon gets the kill as well. So the theme of this whole game is just me getting assists and no kills. I have 3 kills and 19 assists by the end of the game. No deaths, of course, are really good as a Jhin. But pretty much, I don't get any of the kills. Someone always kills the person before I manage to get my shot off onto him. But anyways, we did pretty well. So there is the Jhin complete guide for you guys. Thank you guys for watching the video, and I'll leave you guys with the stats as usual, and goodbye.